Hello, my dear friend. If you're here right now, it's not by accident. Something in you has already begun to outgrow who you used to be. You may not have language for it yet, only that strange ache that whispers, "I don't fit anymore." When people talk about reaching their final form, they picture something cinematic. Wings unfurled, light pouring out, a heavenly transformation worthy of a legend. But heaven's version of transformation isn't a spectacle. It's subtler, harder to fake. Your final form isn't an explosion. It's an unveiling. It's the moment you stop lying with your words, your choices, and even the quiet posture of your body. For years, you've lived in disguise, switching masks like survival gear. You've been the one who never says no, even when your throat burned with all the swallowed truths. You've been the one who never asks for help, because strength was the only language you were taught to speak. You've been the one who jokes everything away, even when laughter was your only armor against collapse. You've been the one who pretends not to care, even when your chest stayed tight all night, carrying the aches of others like prayer beads. None of those masks fit for long, did they? They weren't your skin. They were costumes you stitched together just to make it through the storm. But now, God is doing something different. He's not asking you to become someone new. He's asking you to stop pretending you're still someone you no longer are. That's what final form looks like. Not wings, but peace. You start saying yes and notice your shoulders don't tense. You start saying no and your stomach doesn't drop into panic. You walk away from conversations that once drained you, and your jaw isn't clenched for hours replaying what you should have said. For the first time in a long time, your body is breathing the same truth your spirit already knows, because your body knows before your mind admits it. It tenses when you agree to things that deplete you. It grows heavy when you linger in rooms that are wrong for you. It wakes you up at 3 a.m. on the nights you try to convince yourself you're fine. God isn't just working in your spirit. He's retraining your body to stop cooperating with what hurts you. Pay attention to the small details lately. The quiet rebellion of your nervous system. You open your messages, and for once, you don't rush to reply out of guilt. You stop typing, "It's okay," when it wasn't. You replace "no worries" with "thank you for letting me know," because you're done performing calmness just to keep access to people who don't honor your peace. That's not attitude. That's God straightening your spine from the inside out. You begin ordering what you actually want at dinner, not what seems reasonable, not what keeps you small. You stop dressing to disappear or to impress. Instead, you find yourself dressing to feel like yourself again. You clean your space, not because company's coming, but because your soul finally refuses to rest in chaos that no longer matches where you're headed. That's not about aesthetics. That's about identity. That's God revealing your final form, showing you what your life looks like when you stop negotiating against your own spirit. You start noticing it everywhere. You don't laugh at the same jokes anymore. Not because you've become too sensitive, but because your body freezes when cruelty hides inside humor. You feel your chest tighten when the conversation tilts toward gossip. You sense a quiet nausea after oversharing with someone who hasn't earned that level of access. Those are not signs of overthinking. Those are signals from heaven. Feedback from your Creator, teaching discernment in the language your body understands. Every flinch, every flutter, every tightening is divine communication. This is not where you belong anymore. You've been asking God to show you your calling, haven't you? And maybe you've been waiting for thunder, for revelation, for something grand. But his answer has been showing up in patterns. Patterns written into your history, the evidence of divine design. Look at it closely. You've always been the one people call when everything falls apart. You're the one who notices what others overlook. You can walk into chaos and see the next sensible step while others freeze. You've been calling that just how I am. God calls it equipment. This isn't random. It's sacred wiring. Final form is when you stop treating your God-given traits as coincidences and start recognizing them as your assignment. Look back. Think about the tension that came before the family explosion. How you sensed it before anyone else. Remember the friend who reached out on the night they almost gave up, and how you were awake for no reason at all. None of that was coincidence. It's the fingerprint of purpose across your life. Your final form isn't loud. It's accurate. It's precision in motion. God is tightening your tolerances, tuning your frequencies. You can't unsee what you now see. You can't keep smiling through situations that make your spirit ache. You feel it earlier now. That little nope in your chest, arriving before your mind can excuse it away. That's not harshness. That's discernment. That's you refusing to betray what God built into your soul. You've played so many roles. The easy one, the funny one, the quiet one, the strong one. But ultimate form isn't a mask or a role. It's alignment. It's the same truth appearing in every corner of your life until there's no room left for pretending. You start revisiting your old journals, reading your own handwriting like an echo from another lifetime. And you almost don't recognize that person. Not because they were bad, but because their standards were so low they made themselves small so others could stay comfortable. And now, when you read their words, something inside you cringes. Not out of shame, but out of reverence, because you know you can't go back there again. That cringe is holy. It's the moment your mind and body agree for once. We're not living like that anymore. Final form isn't about chasing transformation. It's about stopping the argument between who you are and what you already know. You know which environments drain you. You know which habits steal your sleep. You know which people leave you feeling confused about yourself. Stop calling that complicated. Start calling it wrong for who you are now. You start pausing before you agree to things. You stop rushing to rescue. You let people feel the consequences of their own choices without sprinting in to fix them. And that's not coldness. That's God teaching you the difference between being loving and being used. And somewhere in the middle of this holy recalibration, you catch your own reflection one morning. And something's different. You actually like who you're becoming. Not in arrogance, but in quiet relief. You whisper it almost without meaning to. I can live like this. And that realization sits softly on your shoulders. It feels sustainable, honest, like breathing clean air after years of holding your breath. That's your final form coming into focus. Not wings, not halos, but a life that doesn't fight itself anymore. God isn't revealing a fantasy version of you. He's revealing the one that's been forming in secret. The version that emerged every time you told the truth when it would have been easier to lie. Every time you walked away quietly instead of exploding. Every time you chose rest instead of self-destruction. He saw all of it. Every quiet rebellion against chaos. Every moment of choosing peace. And now, he's holding up the mirror and saying, "This is you. You don't have to act anymore. You're not waiting to transform. You're awakening to what's already changed. From this point forward, every decision either protects that truth or betrays it." That's what this message is about. Not hype, not performance. Just the courage to finally live as the person God already finished shaping on the inside. Your final form isn't somewhere out there, shimmering in the distance. It's here, right here. He's just making sure you finally feel it, in your thoughts, in your breath, in your bones. And here's what usually happens next, my friend. Once you start living closer to your final form, the world around you will need time to adjust. Because while you've been changing quietly on the inside, others are still expecting the old you to answer the phone. They'll feel the difference first, not because you announced it, but because their usual ways of reaching you stop working. The friend who only calls when they're in crisis will notice your silence stretching longer. The family member who manipulates through guilt will feel the gap when you say, "I can't do that today," and don't rush in to save it later. The person who expects your endless empathy but never returns, it will be the first to say, "You've changed," and they won't be wrong. You have. They just don't realize how much it cost you to stay unchanged for that long. You don't need to explain it to everyone. You don't owe the world a documentary of your healing. Most of the time, one sentence is enough. "I can't do that anymore. It doesn't feel right for me now. That doesn't work for me." That's not cruelty. That's honesty. That's what peace sounds like when it stops apologizing for existing. You're still kind. That's your nature. But now, you're kind without being nice out of fear. God isn't revealing your final form so you can prove a point. He's revealing it so you can stop abandoning yourself to keep the peace. Because peace built on self-betrayal was never peace at all. Once you begin walking closer to your true form, life starts rearranging itself around you. Not all at once, not violently, but with a strange and undeniable rhythm, as though unseen hands are shifting the furniture of your existence to make room for who you've become. Plans that once excited you begin to dissolve, and you find yourself no longer chasing them. Invitations arrive and go unanswered, not because of laziness, but because something deeper whispers, "That's not your space anymore." People who once felt essential begin to fade into the background, not out of malice, but because your vibration no longer harmonizes with theirs. And at first, it can feel like loss. It can feel like failure or isolation. But beneath that ache, if you listen carefully, there's relief. The quiet recognition that God is untying you from what once kept you small. You're not being punished. You're being unbound. You start to see the difference between peace and pleasing, between comfort and calling. The more honest you become with yourself, the clearer it gets. You no longer say yes, just to avoid disappointment. No longer overextend yourself to earn approval that was never meant to define you in the first place. You begin measuring your decisions differently, not by who will be upset if you decline, but by what it will cost your soul if you agree. That's not selfishness. That's stewardship. God placed breath, time, and energy in your hands, and your final form knows these are sacred currencies, not to be spent recklessly on things that don't align with your purpose. This is the quiet maturity of heaven, learning to protect what was entrusted to you without guilt, without apology, without shrinking. The world may interpret this as distance, but what's really happening is refinement. The noise begins to fade, and you start hearing your own thoughts again. You stop chasing half-hearted responses and start craving the calm of mutual effort. You stop explaining the basics of respect to people who have no intention of offering it. You stop mistaking attention for affection, noise for closeness, familiarity for belonging. You realize how often you've been performing love instead of receiving it. And that realization, though painful, frees you. You start recognizing what your spirit, your mind, and even your body can and cannot host anymore. You start honoring your limits as holy ground. And yes, some people will only remember the older version of you, the one who bent until you were exhausted, who smiled through discomfort, who said yes when every fiber of your being wanted to say no. They'll speak of you in past tense, reminiscing about how easy you used to be. Let them. You're not obligated to go back and prove that you're still soft, still generous, still safe for their convenience. You can be soft and firm at the same time, gentle without being permissive, compassionate without being consumed. And when someone says, "The old you would have done this or that," you can smile and reply, "I love who I was, but I'm not going back to the habits that hurt me," because you're not dishonoring your past self by evolving. That version of you survived what this one was born to heal. They did the best they could with what they knew. But this version, the one standing here now, knows more, feels more, sees more, and that awareness is holy. You won't always feel brave, though. There will still be days when your hands shake as you speak the truth, when your heart races as you stand your ground, when doubt tries to convince you that the old way was safer. Do it anyway. Say the hard thing with shaky hands. Step forward with trembling knees. Courage in this season isn't the absence of fear. It's your refusal to lie about what's real. You've spent years pretending things were fine, smiling through chaos, telling yourself you could handle one more compromise. But now, you understand that pretending is the real danger, because every small betrayal of your truth costs a piece of your peace, and you're done paying that price. There will be moments of uncertainty, times when you'll question yourself. Am I being too harsh, too distant, too much? When those doubts come, check in with the simplest compass you have, your inner stillness. After a decision, do you feel cleaner inside or more tangled? Cleaner usually means you've honored what God has been showing you. Tangled usually means you agreed to something your spirit never signed off on. The Holy Spirit doesn't always speak in thunder. Sometimes he speaks in the feeling of relief that follows alignment. And you'll learn to trust that subtle voice. You won't need someone else to confirm every step. You'll learn to ask, "God, did this look like the person you're shaping me into?" Then you'll listen, not just with your emotions, but with your body, your thoughts, even your sleep. Because he has so many ways of saying yes, keep going, or no, that's not it. You'll notice it in how easily you breathe afterward, in how your stomach unclenches, in how peace quietly fills the space that worry used to live in. And as this awareness deepens, something extraordinary happens. You begin to have more to give, but to the right people this time. The ones who are truly assigned to your life start to draw nearer, and your presence with them feels heavier, more nourishing. The friend who shows up for you as you've shown up for them, the child who feels safe in your company, the partner or companion who respects your time and honors your no. Your love for them sharpens, becomes deliberate, sacred, because your energy is no longer stretched thin. Across everyone who demanded a piece of you, you've stopped mistaking availability for love. You're no longer dividing your light just to make others comfortable in their shadows. Now, your giving has depth because it's anchored in discernment. This quiet congruence is what God has been after all along. A life that matches from the inside out. A life where your words, your actions, your environment, and your spirit are finally in agreement. You wake up one morning, look around at your life, and realize it matches. What you believe, what you allow, what you feel, what you speak, They line up. There's no more argument within you. And that internal harmony, that alignment, is holy. It's the sound of heaven echoing in your ordinary days. You no longer need to prove your healing with public declarations or dramatic boundaries. You don't have to post long explanations about who you're becoming. You just live it. You let your peace speak for itself. And that quiet consistency will start to draw the right things toward you and release the wrong ones without effort. You'll notice it first in how others respond. People will start saying things like, "There's something different about you." They won't always have the words for it. They'll sense it in how you carry yourself, in how your presence feels grounded now, in how you no longer rush to fill silences with reassurance. And you'll simply smile, because you'll know exactly what they're sensing. The weight of peace, the gravity of authenticity. You've stopped performing, you've stopped splitting yourself between who you are and who the world expects you to be. That's what final form feels like: steadiness. It's not fame, not flawlessness, not perfection, it's fullness. Being completely, quietly yourself, with nothing left to prove. And yes, the journey here wasn't glamorous. It came through heartbreak, through disappointment, through all the nights you thought you were breaking when you were actually being refined. It came through conversations you never wanted to have, through losses that felt like punishment, but were really protection. It came through fatigue, through surrender, through grace that held you even when you couldn't hold yourself. And now looking back, you'll see the design in it. Every no that broke your heart was really a boundary heaven built on your behalf. Every door that shut was a doorway back to yourself. Every quiet season that felt like exile was actually formation. God was sculpting your endurance, your wisdom, your discernment, shaping you into someone who could carry peace without losing it. So here you are, standing in the aftermath of all that shedding, breathing a little deeper, walking a little slower, speaking a little truer. You realize that the goal was never to ascend into some impossible ideal, but to come home to yourself, the self God already finished shaping in secret. Your final form isn't a destination you chase. It's the realization that you've already arrived. It's living in a way that doesn't fight your own design. It's resting in the truth that you no longer have to perform, belonging because you already belong, to God, to purpose, to peace. And even now, this transformation continues quietly, moment by moment. You'll still have to choose it daily, to tell the truth when lies would be easier, to rest when hustle feels more acceptable, to walk away without guilt, to stay grounded in love without collapsing into overgiving. Every day will offer the same sacred choice. Will I protect what God has been building inside me, or will I betray it for comfort? And with time, that choice will no longer feel like a battle. It will become your instinct, because your spirit has been rewired for honesty. Your body has learned what peace feels like. Your mind has accepted that alignment is worth the cost of approval. So when life tests this new steadiness, when old patterns knock on your door, when familiar chaos invites you back, you'll smile softly, thank them for what they once taught you, and simply say, that chapter's finished. Not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. Because the lesson isn't anger, it's discernment. The reward isn't applause, it's peace. And peace, you'll find, is more intoxicating than any validation you ever chased. It fills you quietly, like sunlight through open windows, until you realize this is what it means to live blessed. Not endlessly happy, but wholly aligned. So breathe, my friend. You've come far. You've walked through fire, silence, and surrender, and yet here you stand, calm, awake, fully alive in your own skin. This is what heaven meant by final form. Not wings, not halos, just a life that finally agrees with itself. A life that no longer argues with truth. A soul that can stand before God and say, I am who you said I was. And as you keep walking, you'll notice the world will respond. Not with thunder, but with alignment. The right people will find you. The right spaces will open. The right rhythm will carry you forward. Because now, your life hums at the frequency of honesty, and everything meant for you can finally hear it. That's the quiet miracle of becoming. You stop chasing what was never meant for you, and what was always yours begins to come home. You're not becoming someone else. You're remembering who you are. Welcome home to your final form.